Welcome to Intuitive Connections, where spirituality and psychology meet to help you be your best and brightest self. I'm your host, Victoria Shaw, and in each episode, I'll help you to awaken your own inner wisdom, step into your power, and live a more divinely inspired life. You're here to let your inner light shine. Are you ready? Let's do this. Welcome to Intuitive Connection. Hello, hello, hello. Today on the podcast, I want to tune into and share a little quote that has been sticking with me from Esther Hicks of Abraham Hicks around, the law of attraction. That's what they talk about, but also so much more. And the quote, and I wrote it down on my to-do list, interestingly enough, is stop broadcasting so that you can receive. Stop broadcasting so you can receive. Ooh, and even as I say it, I really recognize, and I've been getting this message from pretty much everywhere recently, that so often in life, we are pushing, we are trying, we are creating from this idea that we have to do, that we have to force, that we have to push, that we have to figure it out. And sometimes all we really need to do is just lie back, relax, and allow our lives to flow, right? Allow life to flow. And when we align with that flow of life, then our doing, our actions become much more purposeful, much more joyful, and easier. Right? Because we're not pushing anymore. It's really that difference between swimming upstream and going with the current. And the guides say even more than that, it's a difference between thrashing and struggling and creating just a lot of waves around you, right? Rather than just taking that deep breath and allowing yourself to just float, to float. And who doesn't like to float? I do. Now, I'm remembering my father is like this amazing floater, like for real. So I grew up on a lake and we had a pool. And so water and swimming was a big part of my childhood. And my dad and my daughter has this too. I think it's just how their beautiful bodies are constructed, are like these amazing floaters. They can just lie back and become buoyant. But for me, floating was not always the easiest thing, right? Because it took a deep level of relaxation, right? To trust, to breathe, and to allow your body to go motionless, right? And therefore float on the top of the water. And it's not something that comes naturally, I think, to many of us at all, that idea of just releasing, relaxing so much that we become buoyant. And it's kind of funny, right? Because we learn to swim, like we go from this sort of panicked state of, oh my God, that's what brings us down, right? That panic, I can't swim, and we're thrashing around in the water. Whew, my chest is constricting even thinking about it, right? To learning that you're buoyant, you can float, just relax, glide, feel into the water. And then again, your movements become more purposeful, more aligned, more easeful is the word that the guides want to use, even though I think easy is the grammatical one, right? And more joyous as well. They give the example of Michael Phelps, and they love to give me this example for some reason, but they're giving me again, right? Like when you swim on that level, they say, he has probably learned a million things about what it takes to be a good swimmer. And probably all of that is in his brain somewhere, but in the moment he hits the water, he hits the pool, something else takes over, and he becomes one with that race. And he allows that force to work through him as he swims, right? It is 100%, they say, intuitive experience. He is out of the picture. And the reason he's so successful, or was so successful, I think he's retired by now, was of course he had the drive, of course he had the goal, of course he had the joy and that competitive nature. But when he hopped in the pool, the guides say, all of that went out the window, and he just knew how to flow with the forces of life. He knew how to use his body as a vessel. He knew how to let his body do what it needed to do to always win that race, and to be completely present in the moment with what was happening, to align with that, and to allow his goal of always being the fastest to work through that state of allowing. Wow, and that is a beautiful image. And yet, so many of us, yours truly sometimes even, right, We get lost in the doing. We get lost in this idea that we have to do all the work with our silly, tiny little brains, right? That we have to go into all of this effort in order to make things happen. And my energy sinks a little bit as I say this. It tires me out. You may accomplish things that way, right? We can swim. The doggy paddle is a legitimate stroke. However, it's exhausting. It's exhausting because you're fighting the water even as you're moving forward. And it is just not super efficient. And other times too, it doesn't even get the job done because, when the current picks up and we go into more fear, sometimes, we can even sink. But you're not going to sink. You're perfect. You already know all about your natural buoyancy. And so it's just about allowing yourself to vibe with that more and more, to fall back into it and to allow yourself to be a vessel of expression for your own inner divinity. And then for allowing all action to be inspired action. And inspired action, my friends, comes from that alignment. It comes from knowing that you are a spark of the divine and that if you get out of the way, if you stop broadcasting, you can start to receive. You can start to receive all of the wisdom that your soul wants to share and express through you, because that's what you're here to do. And that is what you're all craving. When people come to me and they say, Victoria, I want to find my purpose. What they really mean in the deepest sense is I want to feel good. I want to feel aligned. I want to do what I came here to do. That's what we're craving. And oftentimes, again, we look for our purpose in the things we do, in the things we create. And oftentimes, those things are aligned. They can be aligned, but that's not the point, right? Because alignment itself is your purpose. And the guides say, because the perfectionist in you and perhaps the perfectionist in me might say, but so I must be aligned 24/7. No. Just setting that intention to align and doing it more and more, right? Your being here is your purpose, is I think what they're trying to say. And they're like, And then as we unfold into more awareness, right? More alignment, more joy, more peace, less efforting and more allowing, we step more and more into that purpose even more, right? We express our potential on a deeper and greater level. Got it? So freaking cool. So I posted on Facebook this week, although it won't be this week for those of you hearing it. It'll probably be like months or weeks ago because, we never know. But I posted about a little experience I had where I was trying to get something done and I had a lot of frenetic energy. And the last thing I wanted to do was take a break. But everything in my intuition was like, take a break, take a break, take a break. Have you been in that moment when you're just so into doing and you're like, I cannot take a break now. There's too much to do. Again, chest is constricting even thinking about this energy. So I'm going to take a step back. Hang on. That feels better. But that break, right, was that opportunity for me to stop broadcasting, right, and set myself up to receive. And when I took that break and, I'll tell you the story. I went to the store, was the break. And on the way to the store, I swear to you, it took like 12 hours, right? It was a 20-minute drive, but it felt like, forever because I was so anxious about all the time that was passing that I was wasting on this task. And then I sort of got to the store and I focused on something else, like buying what I needed to buy. And I kind of like shopping, so it kind of got me into a different rhythm. And the drive back, I swear, also 20 minutes because in real human time, right, it usually was the same both ways. And, there were no other extenuating factors other than the distance and the speed limits on the road. But the drive back felt like it was about 4 minutes. Right? It felt like it was about 4 minutes because I was in a totally different headspace. And the even cooler thing is the moment I got back, everything shifted and changed and got done instantly. And so, the 4 hours that I spent of spinning were far less efficient than the 2 hours I spent after I took my break. True story. And that's often how it works when we are aligned. When we are getting out of our heads, when we are getting out of the way and allowing life to stream through us, it becomes much more effortless and efficient. True story. And so that is the message that the guides wanted to impart to you today, but I'm pretty sure also to me. Because what they're saying to me, and I'll share with you because why not? We're recording, and I love getting my information wherever it wants to come from. What they're imparting to me, and this may be true for a lot of you, is we often identify with our doing, right? We feel that if we are not productive, we are not enough. And I didn't realize this conditioning was still coming up for me, but apparently it is. And sometimes too, the guides say we are afraid to flow with the unknown, flow with the space in which things are created, right? We are almost afraid that if we surrender to that, we'll fall into the abyss, we'll disappear. And the ego may lose its hold. The ego may lose its control when we go into the void. And that sounds like a very scary thing, but it's actually a beautiful one. But as we surrender that, and as we release that anxiety and recognize, oh, that's just our ego, trying to hold on because it believes that, it's keeping us safe, or we believe it's keeping us safe. And it is doing no such thing, I promise you, not on the highest sense for sure. It's keeping us in the loop of fear, really, in the most loving kind way. Be gentle with yourself and your ego and know that, it's doing what it knows how to do. And on some level, it's working for you. But anyhow, when we let go of the compulsive doing, when we allow ourselves to feel into the space of our lives, and we allow ourselves to get comfortable with the unknown, comfortable with the not doing, comfortable with knowing that we are valuable even just by being here. In fact, that is what makes us the most valuable. Just by signing up to come into this human body, you are fulfilling your purpose right there. And then your potential is unfolding in every moment of time that you remember that that is your true purpose. Wow, that is beautiful. I want to say that again. So your purpose is just doing what you are, who you are, and then your potential is unfolding each time you remember that, each time you recognize that. And again, that just makes me so happy to hear that guidance as it wants to come through. And as we release any anxiety that we have around this idea that we have to compulsively do or create or do anything to be valuable or important, that is where we free ourselves up for the highest and truest and deepest creations. Because those creations come from our spirit, from our soul, from source, from the divine, from our higher self. And that is the level in which we all truly want to create from. It is the most joyous. It is the most enjoyable. I know, same thing, but I wanted to say it twice. It is the most fun. It is the most effortless. And in a deeper way, it's the most purposeful. It truly is. And so today for me, I am going to really set that intention to feel in more and more to the effortless, purposeful creation, to allowing myself to be and let my doing come from there, to allow that left brain doing to do what she needs to do, because I have a long to-do list, but also recognize that there's a deeper force of life that's working through me. And then everything's going to get done, whether I have my hands gripping tightly on the handlebars of this roller coaster or not. She's going to flow. She's going to move. And the question is, do I want to raise my hands and go, wee? Right? Or do I want to grip on for dear life? And friends, the choice is yours. But if you've ever been on a roller coaster, the more you surrender to the experience, the more fun it tends to be. So in a world that's constantly teaching us to push, 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 do, force, 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 right? How do we learn to stop broadcasting so that we can receive? How do we learn how to do that? How do we flip that script that tells us that our worth and our value is in what we do, and that the way to solve problems, right, is to effort our way through them? Well, I'm going to give you a couple things that work for me. One of the things that works is just to know that, right? Just to recognize that when I'm in that driven behavior and I feel like I don't want to stop, I don't want to quit, right? I need to keep going. I need to get it done. Those are the moments, first and foremost, most of all, that I sometimes need to take that step back and get that break, right? Take that break, take that step back, get out of the mind, stop doing what I'm doing, distract myself, or redirect myself is a better word. So that I can stop broadcasting and start receiving. That can mean a walk in nature. That can mean a long bath. That can mean a creative arts project. That can mean even switching to another thing on the to-do list when one thing isn't flowing.
But when I recognize when I'm gripping, when I'm grabbing, when I am holding the brakes, right? When I think I'm just, controlling the wheel, those are the times too that it's so important to recognize and to consciously take that step back and to remember too, we can't always solve a problem from that doing and forcing and pushing energy anyway. That's the energy that creates problems. It's actually rarely the energy that solves them. And when we can identify the problem and then step back, that's when the magic happens. That's when the magic happens. Another thing that I've been practicing a lot is letting go. And I do this with my hands, and I think I've talked about it in other episodes, but sometimes when I feel like I'm gripping and grasping, I literally, actually, this is a real I literally open my palms. A lot of times, when I'm feeling in that tense energy, when I'm pushing, when I'm feeling like I have to do this because, this is meaningful to me and important to me, if I'm identifying with what I would call driven behavior, right? Even talking about it stresses me out, so I'm going to take a breath, which is another thing that I do. I will literally open my palms because a lot of times in those moments, I will feel that my hands are clenched. And by opening my palms, I'm reminding myself, my energy, my body, right, that I'm releasing, that I'm trusting, that I'm saying I don't need to grip on to this right now. I can let it go. I can let it go. And I can let the higher, wiser part of myself do a little bit of the work for me, right? And then I will show up at just the right moment, come right back around and say, okay, all right, now that I've let this go, and now that I can take that step back, and now that I am agreeing once again to stop trying to do everything for my little small mind and cooperate with my highest self to receive, now I can take that step back. I'm in the ready to receive. And when we receive, friends, and we allow all of that to come in, a couple beautiful things happen. Number one, sometimes this stuff just gets taken care of for you because a lot of times the mind just likes to create problems to solve, and that's okay. Mind's going to do what mind's going to do. But sometimes when we take the step back, the problem just solves itself. So that's a real thing. And please feel free to allow that to happen for you. The other thing that can happen when we take that step back is we will get the nudges and the little 411 and the little downloads that will show us exactly what the right action to take is, because the mind will create, and try to figure it all out. And I love having a mind. Thank you for trying, my beautiful friend. But my intuition will often give me the exact steps, the exact action items that are really, truly going to get the job done. And if I trust into that, and if I'm willing to take that step back and say, okay, please show me, a lot of times, most times, almost all the time when I think about it, right? I'll be shown the easiest path moving forward, the one that is going to be the most aligned. And that's what we want. Trust me, that's what we want. I'm going to share one more tool that I sometimes use when my mind gets overstuffed with to-dos. And the guides say too, before I share this tool, they say, and this is specifically for me, but for you guys as well, one of the reasons why we sometimes overdo is because we feel like there's something to be gained. We feel like, wow, if I give this up to the divine, right? If I give this up to someone else, if I let other people help me, other people support me, the world, the universe, all of that good stuff, right? Then I haven't done it and I don't earn the brownie points. So the guides wanted me to put that one out there, and they want to say you absolutely most do. Because again, your real purpose here is to be present, is to be a conduit, a vessel for your own highest guidance. So you have already earned the brownie points, my friends, just by showing up. And the more we agree to align with that part of us that is bigger than our human selves, right, the more we fulfill our soul's potential. Got it? Right? So you're already there. You're already there, and you're not doing it wrong. That's not what I said. You are doing it so perfectly right. I promise you. It's just a matter of doing it with more fun, more joy, more ease, and a little less effort. So the last thing coming to this that I wanted to share is a little technique that I've been using. I don't know if I've shared it before on the podcast. So if I have, sorry, but I'm sharing it again. And it comes from a book that a friend introduced me to years ago called Hiring the Heavens. I think the author is Slater, but we'll have it in the show notes. And I may have shared the story when I first came across this book. I hated it. I hated it. We read it for book group, and her premise is, let your angels do everything for you and give them a long list of everything that you need so they can do it. And I found it horrifying because I was like, I have to figure out waste all this time, telling the angels specifically what they do. Can't I just let them do it? But as my life has become a little bit more busy, and as I've been building things and starting this new business that I have and setting up 2 households, and moving cross country and all these really left brain mundane tasks and things that I need support with, I'm going to breathe. I have found this technique of hiring the heavens to be invaluable. And friends, all I do is every time there's something on my to-do list that's not moving, something that I want support with, something that I want to co-create, I put it on the list. And then I let it go. And miraculously, things on that list get done, right? They get done. Sometimes there's a little more efforting on my part for sure, but again, it's always aligned efforting. But I have found that most of those things on that list, they're all getting work done. I know that, right? But a lot of them, it's been truly miraculous how they've all gotten done. And the guides say this hiring the heavens thing, when it's practiced properly, is another form of letting go. Because they say everything I put on that list, I'm releasing. I'm saying, okay, it's on the list. It's out of my mind. It's out of my egoic to-do list. And I will know that the guides, the universe, the energy, the vortex, whatever language you want to use that aligns with you is taking care of that for me, for my tiny that's not lower, but my human self, Victoria Shaw, so she can relax just a little bit more and know, right, that there's ease coming and that she doesn't have to worry about all that stuff. So you can try that one too if you are looking for more ways to relax. Put it down on a list. Leave it alone. Don't keep checking on it. I check on mine, maybe every couple months, just to check in so that I can be like, wow, this is working. But again, it's another way that we can release these things and take that step back so that we can stop broadcasting and open ourselves up to receive. And by the way, friends, there's nothing wrong with sending out the broadcast, right? Now and again, that is what that list is. I am broadcasting. But what we do sometimes is we just keep talking. We talk so loud that we, like sometimes in an interview, right? We talk so loud that we don't hear the answer to our own questions. And so that is why it is so helpful to get into that habit of having that desire, having that thought, having that wish, and then most beautifully and most powerfully, getting out of the way and letting it go. All right, I think that's it. I think that's all that wanted to come through today. I know I'm going to be listening to this particular episode again and again, and maybe again and again and again and again, and a little bit more. I hope you guys will too. And I hope that it resonates with you as much as it did with me. And thank you all, as always, for tuning in. Know just how grateful I am to each and every one of you, and have a marvelous day, and namaste.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you found joy, strength, inspiration, and clarity from today's episode. If you'd like to learn more and connect with an amazing group of like-minded souls, please join us over on Facebook in the Intuitive Connection Community Facebook group, where we explore these topics in deeper detail, have additional live teachings, and host Facebook Lives with our amazing guests. I hope to see you there. And of course, if you want to learn more about me or the work that I do, please check out my webpage, victoriashawintuitive.com. Thank you so much again, and namaste.